and welcome to Betwixt the Books. If you're looking at my face and going, who the hell are you? I thought Betwixt the Books was Gretchen's channel. Fair. I stopped existing on this channel around August. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I was having a rough season. It was a bad time for me. I am not abandoning the channel. I just literally have not finished a book since September. And it's difficult to make booktube content when you don't read. Oops. Anyway, here's our wrap up of our challenge that we do every year. So as you would expect, because of the fact that I have been gone for like half the year, we only got through about half of our challenges from 2022. If you didn't know, we do a buddy reading challenge, which helps us sort of guide our reading for the year, our joint reading when we do joint reviews. It's mostly a bunch of like specific challenges to make sure that we are reading along with our own like social morals. So you'll see that a lot of the challenges that we talk about when we talk about what we're going to be hopefully doing in 2023 are very like specific, like we want to be reading widely, diversely, things like that. But because because we don't want this video to be the longest thing that ever existed, and because we really only did about 50% of what we were going to do last year, and because the ones that we didn't complete were rolling over into next year, we're just kind of gloss over last year's stuff. Just if you want like a quick overview, here's some of the books that we read and reviewed together for some of the challenges that we were able to complete. I will link in the cards up above these videos so that you can go and watch them. I will also link down below the link to our storygraph buddy challenge if you want to join us or see the challenges that we sort of set for ourselves. Please feel free to join us. You can look and see at some of the things that we have already like added books to for the challenge, of like some of the ideas of things that you might see coming up. Those are all things that have already come out, but obviously we also look at arcs throughout the year, so don't put any of those books as like set in stone for what we're definitely going to be reading. It's more or less just these are some ideas that we've had for the challenges that we've set for ourselves based on what we know we would like to read, and we know about at the moment. So yes, hi, I'm Michaela. If you don't know who I am, I totally understand. But we are a joint channel, there's two of us. So let's talk about some of the books, or some of the categories we would like to use for our reading in 2023.
Hi guys! So in case you're wondering, I have no idea who that is either. She just kind of showed up and she was like, hey, can I make a video? And I was like, oh my god, yes, sure. Because I'm magnanimous like that. Anyway, no, I'm kidding. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, books. This is a book channel where we talk about books. So one of the categories that we are rolling over from last year is a anti-racist nonfiction book pick. And we had a couple ideas that we were tossing around about that. Those include like books in this kind of category would be The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, which is, you know, about African-American anti-racist situation. And then there's also Unworthy Republic, which is an Indigenous Native American book. I forget the author and the subtitle. It's fine. We are both obviously very interested in this subject, and if you see my videos, I'm creepily obsessed with nonfiction of all kinds. So this is a book where we can learn a little bit, talk a little bit, and be better people because of it.
One of the challenges that I proposed last year that we weren't able to get to was to read a book with an ace protagonist. So again, we're rolling that over into the new year. We had suggested Loveless by Alice Oseman for this challenge. I, not last year, but the year before, had read Radio Silence by Alice Oseman and really liked it. So, which also has demi representation in that one. So obviously this is an author I know who talks about ace protagonists. But again, that was one that we had talked about as a possibility of being something that we could read and review for that challenge. We didn't get to it. So again, we're going to move it forward into the new year. Are we going to read Loveless or are we going to read something else? Don't know. But a book with an ace protagonist is one of the challenges that we would like to meet.
So another one of the challenges that we are rolling over is our challenge to read an entire series. Now, when we initially proposed this idea to each other. We thought, oh, maybe a trilogy or a duology, because, you know, sometimes when you review the first book in a series, you know, you're like, oh, I didn't really like that, or like, oh, this was interesting but not totally developed. And you're like, but it's really hard to review it if you don't finish the series. And we don't often read books in series, but we thought that it would be really cool to do a holistic style review in that way. And then after saying to each other that we should do a trilogy or a duology because that's manageable, we went and said we're going to read the entire Percy Jackson series, which is neither a duology nor a trilogy. There are 5 of them. I mean, they're middle grade, it's not terrible, but, you know, with the new TV show coming out on Disney Plus and the fact that, you know, we've never read them, kind of feels like we missed a whole chunk of some people's childhood. So, will we achieve this year? I don't know, but maybe we should have stuck to a manageable amount of books. So we'll see if we change our mind, but that's the goal.
Another of my categories that I suggested, because we make these challenges to try to reflect both of our reading interests, was to read a book translated into English. We had done this the year previous, so not last year, but the year before. We managed to nail it and we enjoyed that and like made it a challenge again, but we didn't manage to do that last year, so we're moving it forward again into the coming year. I have a bunch of books already like under that challenge on Storygraph of like suggestions for things that we could be reading and talking about. I am a huge proponent for reading translated lit. There are people writing really great stories, and there's really interesting culture from all over the world that we don't get when we focus so much on American and British lit, which is the majority of what people read here on BookTube. So it's about promoting voices, promoting other cultures, just reminding people that yes, there are books that come from around the world. Like it isn't just primarily English-speaking countries. So please go look at some of the ones that we might talk about. We haven't decided on a specific one yet for that challenge at all. And again, that might change. Something might come out this year that we find super interesting and want to read. But I always recommend reading a translated book. So that is one of the challenges that we're doing again, reading a book translated into English.
So a category that we are rolling over, however we did complete last time, is our challenge to read an arc on time. I do a lot of stuff with romance arcs. I get to like 75% of them on time. And Michaela and I also often read the arc, sometimes though not on time, and on time being, you know, around or before the release date like you were supposed to when you get them off of sites like Edelweiss or NetGalley. We succeeded with this task last year when we did the latest Katie Roberts Neon Gods Dark Olympus book that at the time was Electric Idol. We have since read the 3rd one, Wicked Beauty, and in February the 4th one is coming out, Radiant Sin. We already have the e-copy of that from Edelweiss. Michaela and I both really love this series, and you guys seem to really love those reviews, so that's the hope, is it's one of the first challenges that we, you know, make happen this year. But again, you know, subject to change.
The next challenge is one that we completed the first year that we did these reading challenges, but didn't manage to do last year, but that is to read a second chance book. Now, this is a book that we have read previously for the channel, an author, or perhaps like the second book in a series, where we were like, it's okay. Like, it's a 3-star book. Most of the time, it's usually something where we're like, we really liked XYZ element. It wasn't completely what we wanted from it. It didn't do everything that we wanted. It wasn't like a perfect book. Not that most books are perfect books. But we wanted to give this author another chance. Like, can they wow us? Can they grow in their further releases or further in the series? So that's what this challenge was meant to do. We had a couple of books that we were tentatively going to do for that challenge towards the end of the year, and then didn't get to it because I was not reading. And again, my bad. 100% my bad. That's on me. But it's something that we're going to do again because it is interesting to see. And that first year it was very successful. Like, we read a second book by an author that both of us were kind of underwhelmed with and really enjoyed that other book. So it's worth looking at, and you can join us in something that we've already read or something that you've read yourself and you want to give that author a second chance. That's what this category is for, to read a second chance book.
Now, this is a brand new category for this year, but, might not necessarily surprise you. So if you watch any of my nonfiction content, you know that I really love to listen to audiobooks. You may not be as aware that Michaela also really loves to listen to audiobooks. But there is a rare form of audiobook called the full cast audio. And what this means is that in a regular audiobook, there's one person and they do all the narration. And then quite frequently, they do voices, they do accents, they try to make it a little bit interesting for the characters. But in a full cast audio, there are multiple voice actors doing characters. So it really is almost like a radio play or something. And these are very expensive to produce, so there aren't a lot of books that get this treatment, but the ones that do tend to be really special. And since I honestly don't think I've ever listened to a full cast audio out of all of the audio that I've listened to, and Michaela certainly hasn't in a while either, we figured that this would be a really special challenge that would allow us to use a medium that's like we love but is also new. And so we don't really know what we're going to pick for that yet. We have some ideas and you can follow along with our ideas on our storygraph challenge, but I'm just really excited to experience fiction on audio, which I don't normally do, but also the full cast experience, because when it works well, it just really seems to thrill people. So I'm excited to take that on and see what happens.
The next challenge is another brand new challenge for this year, and that is to read a adult release by an author who traditionally writes YA. And this came about from last year, Gretchen and I talking about how we were seeing a lot of adult releases from authors that we were like, oh, they normally write YA books. And I mean a lot, like every month there was at least one where we were like, oh, but it's an adult book. And we were kind of interested to see if it would feel like an adult book or if it would feel like YA plus. Like there has been this sort of, the book talk movement has sort of been pushing for spicy YA, which wouldn't be YA because obviously there are some YA books with sex scenes, but not in the way that I think people are asking for when they ask for spicy YA. They're probably asking for new adult. So we want to look at these and see if they feel like they are a YA plot or YA structure, but like aged up like sexiness wise, or whether they're thematically more adult, whether they read more adult. It would be interesting to us to sort of take a look at that as like just an interesting phenomenon. There's also just a question of like, why are all of these authors moving out of YA and into adult spaces? Like are they don't want to write for kids anymore? Are they trying to tell different stories? Like totally fine to write in both genres. There's a lot of authors that do it. It's just an interesting thing that we noticed over the past year. And because we talk about it a lot, we figured we would make it a challenge to read one of these adult books by a traditionally YA author.
So this next brand new category is really, really special because this year is the 10th year of this channel. It is not technically the 10th year of the way it currently looks with Betwixt the books. Longtime viewers, if you're still here, may remember that we started as a book club called Bibliomancy for Beginners. There was more of us at that time who met on a monthly basis after we became friends freshman year in undergrad at college. And so that eventually morphed into the channel you see today, Betwixt the books, with me and Michaela doing stuff. And every once in a while, some of our old contributors will make surprise appearances, although that hasn't happened in a while. There was a plague. Things happen, but it's fine. Anyway, this is the 10th year of, at the very least, Michaela and I, in some capacity, making content together. And I thought it would be really, really fun to go back to maybe even that first ever season of Bibliomancy for Beginner and reread one of our first books. So we might not pick it from the first ever season. We might do it from a couple, like one of the earlier seasons. But to go back, 10-ish years later to check out that review, our baby faces, and see how our opinions of some of those books have changed. So if you want, you can go to the playlist on this channel and see by season which books we read when we were a book club. And yeah, there's, like I said, very, very young pictures of us in the thumbnails. It's really crazy to look at, but I can't wait to celebrate how long we've been doing this and to, you know, go back to reread books, which we almost never do on this channel. So it'll be just really special content for both of us all around.
The 10th and final challenge is one that we've done previously. We've done both of the years and we managed to succeed both of the years. So this is the only one that we are like, we're 100% success rate on this one, so we figured we would do it again, and that is to read a queer romance, an LGBTQIA plus romance. It mashes my love of queer literature and Gretchen's love of romance, so it's very betwixt the books. It is very much on brand for us, so it's just gonna be our 10th challenge, which is just a queer romance book. We like talking about these, and they tend to be quite popular, in part because I don't think there's a whole lot of people that focus specifically on queer lit. There are definitely channels that focus on queer lit here, but like queer romance specifically doesn't get as much of a spotlight, I feel like, both in traditional publishing and also just on YouTube in general. So we like to spotlight them when we see them. There are already a couple of books that are in there recommended, but again, it might be something new that's coming out that Gretchen notices and throws my way that we talk about when it is coming out. So again, we'll have the link in the description for the challenge. You can join it, see what we're doing, make your own choices. You can choose your own books or read along with us. Those are always recommendations. Usually when we decide on a book, we will tell you ahead of time, like, hey, by the way, next month we're going to be reading XYZ for XYZ challenge. So you'll definitely be seeing those in there. Those are our 10 main challenges. We're going to switch back to Gretchen, and she's going to sign off and also talk about the bonus challenge that we're doing this year.
So we always like to have a bonus challenge that we put on the end where we each kind of give ourselves a free-ish space. So last year we did a bonus challenge where it was to give the other a book out of their comfort zone to read. We did not end up doing my pick. I tried to start it. I was not a fan. And we did do Michaela's, which was she had me read a horror novella, and I actually really liked it. So, you know, What Moves the Dead, go check out that review because that was as shocking to me as like anything we've ever done. That was wild. So this year, again, it's like supposed to be kind of a freer space where we can just say, oh, I really want to read this, but with some kind of small restriction. And this year we've chosen for our restriction is that we want one of our favorite authors to have blurbed, reviewed, recommended in some way the book that we pick. So, you know, say Sarah McLean has given me a romance book that I think I should read because she said so. And I'll be like, Michaela, Sarah McLean said so. And then we will read it. So we do not have any of these books picked out yet. We have some ideas, but you will see, again, our ideas as they grow on our storygraph challenge. And, you know, as rude as I was to Michaela at the start of this video, it is so great to be planning stuff to do for you guys in 2023. Michaela is still working really hard. I am still getting a PhD, but this channel is the most fun when it is as it was intended, betwixt the books, and not just my face talking about either romance novels or history, which is a weird flex. But so excited to have more content planned with Michaela, to see more of her own face in her own videos, and of course me bringing you either spicy or philosophical history discussions. There is no in between. So happy 2023, guys. Believe it or not, it's here. Let's read.